Doc on the Run. We help injured runners run.
Pain is just weakness leaving your body. We affectionately call our training studios pain caves. We bask in the discomfort of pain, knowing that it will make us stronger. In training, we embrace pain as an ally. But when you get an overtraining injury, pain when running is no longer your friend. The pain forces you to slow down, to run shorter distances. Pain forces you sometimes to skip your workouts. Pain is wrecking your training schedule. Pain is in the way. At this point, pain is your enemy. Now, when thinking about this, another saying comes to mind. Keep your friends close, but keep your enemies closer. You can keep track of that pain and use it as a tool to recover as fast as possible and get back to running. Now, the bad news about pain is that runners have a higher pain threshold. A few years ago, there was a research study published in the medical journal Pain, and the study systematically reviewed differences in pain perception between athletes and normally active people. The researchers' report revealed that athletes possess higher pain tolerance, and the data from that meta-analysis suggested that regular physical exercise, particularly that which we do as runners, is associated with specific alterations in pain perception. So the bad news as an injured athlete is that you may be prone to ignoring pain as a warning sign. You may be at higher risk of hurting yourself, prolonging the injury and slowing your recovery since as an athlete you have a higher pain tolerance. Now there is good news with this. Runners also have higher levels of somatic awareness, and what we mean by that is that you can feel what's going on in your body. Now, all of that work you put into developing good running form, feeling for rates of intensity, noticing and charting levels of perceived exertion in your training, all of that leads to what we call somatic awareness. Simply put, runners like you have the ability to tell what's going on in your body. You can feel when your form is right. You can sense a sluggishness when you're having an off day, and you can sense muscular tightness. And when you get injured, you really only have 3 signs of worsening injury: pain, swelling, and bruising. Now, pain is the easiest and most informative of all these signs. Pain tells you something is wrong and may indicate you're doing more damage. Pain is also dynamic. It gives you immediate feedback, and because of this, it can be extremely useful. So one thing you can do is keep a pain journal to keep track of all this pain, and a pain journal will help you map your progress. A pain journal can also help you convince yourself that you're getting better. The same way a training schedule helps you see progress, see that you're realizing your goals, mapping your recovery with a pain journal can help you see trends and note progress. Since an injury is so stressful, you need to be able to see improvement. A positive outlook that comes from documented improvement will help you maintain a positive outlook and help you look for the light at the end of the tunnel, even when that light seems faint. A pain journal also helps your doctor decide how to customize your treatment plan and direct your recovery plan. A pain journal helps you decide when it's safe to run and how much you can advance your activity and increase your distance. Now, one side note here. If you're keeping a pain journal, don't take pain relievers. They can skew the results by masking pain. So that's rule number 1. Compare apples to apples and do not take pain medicine while you're keeping a pain journal. Now, it seems like it'd be really simple to keep track of your pain, but I actually do get lots of runners asking me exactly how they should use the runner's pain journal. So I'm going to explain everything that you need to know about that. Now, the first thing we're going to talk about is what you need to track. And don't worry, we're going to explain everything to you that you should log. But don't worry, you don't even have to write any of this down. To make things easy for you, we created the perfect runner's pain journal PDF for you. So all you have to do is go to the show notes page on Doc on the Run, go to episode 67 and download it. It's free. So here's what you need to record in your pain journal. The first thing is the date. Most runners seem to be poor historians, and we often have pain a lot longer than we want to admit. So make sure you log the date so you really know when things happen. Next thing is your distance. How far did you run? How many miles and where? Was it on the track? Was it on the street? Was it on a soft jogging path? Was it on a treadmill? You need to know where you were running, not only the distance. Again, this comes back to that apples to apples comparison. You want to make sure that you're keeping track of the surfaces you run on because you might have different levels of pain on different surfaces. And that's also useful information. The next thing is your run intensity. So how hard an effort was it? You want to rate the exercise session on a scale of 1 to 10. Then, obviously, you need to know where did it hurt. You got to note the location. Where exactly was the pain? Is the pain on the top of the foot? Is it in your heel? Is it in the arch? Is it around your Achilles tendon, your ankle? Was it in the front of your shin? Sometimes that pain changes, so you need to write it down. Now, the next thing is how much pain did you have during the run? So if you're out on a run or you're doing some activity to try to get your fitness back, whether that's working on an elliptical trainer, going to the gym, walking, running, whatever, you want to log the pain during that activity, even if it's just standing fixing dinner. You want to know what that activity was. Again, apples to apples comparison. So how much did it hurt? Log the pain during that activity on a scale of 1 to 10. Now, during that activity, did it get better, worse, or did it stay the same? Like, did it keep hurting the entire way throughout the run, or did your pain go away during the run? If so, make a note of how many miles into the run, at what distance the pain went away. If the pain did go away during the run, did it come back again? If so, make a note of how many miles into the run, at what distance the pain came back. And what about later in the day? Did you have any pain or soreness later in the evening after your workout? If so, rate it on a scale of 1 to 10. And what about the next morning? Did you have any pain or soreness when you woke up and got out of bed the morning following your workout? If so, rate it on a scale of 1 to 10. With each of these entries, try to describe the pain. What did it feel like? Was it aching, sharp, dull, throbbing, shooting, burning, electrical, or some sort of tingling sensation? All of these subtle differences can help you make a self-diagnosis or help your doctor figure out the source of your pain a lot faster. Whenever a runner calls me for an online second opinion and I have all this information, it really makes it a lot easier to help the runner get back on track. So when should you make entries in your pain journal? Well, most people need to track 3 basic times. You need to track the pain during the run, the evening after the run, and the next morning after your run. This holds true for any activity. So another question runners always ask me is, how long do I need to keep track of my pain? Now, if you're running every day or even every other day, you can often see trends in as little as a few days and almost certainly within 2 weeks. For that reason, the runner's pain journal we made for you is only 14 entries long. Now, you can always, of course, you can print additional sheets if you need, but the reality is you should be able to make progress quickly if you're paying close attention and you're making good choices as you heal. Okay, so why should runners share all this pain information with their doctor? Well, really simple. The more information you give your doctor, the easier it is for the doctor to make the correct diagnosis. The solution is often deep in the details. Part of the reason I have so much success with helping runners through online second opinions is that the runners have usually already been to 1 or 2 other doctors, and after those visits, they seem to have started keeping better track of their changes. They know what has helped, and they know what hasn't helped. All of that info helps me rapidly hone in on the correct diagnosis and the correct solution for that runner. So then, of course, the million-dollar question is how can I tell when it's okay to run? Well, many doctors will say, just let pain be your guide. And they imply that you have to expect that you have to be completely and totally pain-free before you can run. They suggest that, you should be entirely pain-free when you start running at all, but that isn't really the case. And let's face it, if you're a runner and you've been sitting still for 2 weeks, you're going to be in pain just from sitting still. Now, the goal isn't necessarily to be pain-free. The goal is to have less and less pain as you have more and more activity. You have to understand the difference between acceptable pain and worrisome pain. If your pain has been decreasing to the point where it's almost gone and you have no tenderness, it's likely safe to start ramping up your activity. So once you start running, how is it okay to tell when you can increase your distance and your intensity? Well, the bottom line is you need to be able to increase your activity, build your strength, get stronger, and run farther without having your pain ramp back up. You have to consider your timing, your goals, and then everything you can do to maintain your fitness. Generally speaking, if you can run without swelling, without bruising coming back, and without your pain returning and building again, then it's probably okay to run further and start adding in some intensity. But the specifics vary somewhat depending upon what specific structure you injured and what your running goals are. That's why it's so important to find a doctor you can talk to who works with runners. Your doctor has to be on board with your goal of getting you back to running. You and your doctor have to be on the same team. Now, I'm a huge believer in the runner's pain journal, and I think you can use it as a prevention tool. Almost never does an overtraining injury happen in one instant. Most runners who call me for help will talk about this sort of sudden injury, but then they admit that they felt a subtle dull ache or some minor nagging pain for days or weeks or even months that gradually got worse. Keeping track of any pain or soreness will allow you to notice the trends and discomfort that can build over time. The earlier you identify the pain, the easier it is to prevent the true catastrophe that can keep you from running. The more closely you track and evaluate your pain as you recover, the faster you can adjust, increase your mileage, and ramp up your running intensity without having to wonder whether or not you're staying on track. The goal is to keep increasing your mileage and your intensity without the pain coming back in. You can only really do that if you're keeping track of it with a pain journal. Again, to make things easy for you, we created the perfect Runner's Pain Journal PDF. Just go to the show notes page for episode 67 and download it. It's free.
Doc on the Run. We help injured runners run.